5. Verb tenses. A Smart Kidz Club publication. Verbs. In English, we have many verb tenses. Some of them are easy. 1. Present tense. I am reading a book now. 2. Past tense. Yesterday I read a book. 3. Future tense. I will read a book tomorrow. There are other verb tenses that we use when we're writing or talking. These are called perfect tense verbs. 1. Present perfect tense. This tense tells the reader that the action is finished, and the focus is on the fact that Helen doesn't have to do any more homework. Helen has finished her homework. The homework is finished, and Helen doesn't have to do any more. 2. Past perfect tense. This tense talks about an action in the past that finished before another action in the past started. After he had talked to his teacher, George felt much better. Both talked and felt occurred in the past. 3. Future perfect tense. This tense tells us about some action that will be finished at some time in the future. By the time you get to school, you will have walked almost a mile. Both parts of this sentence will happen in the future. Different verb tenses are used at different times. We have already talked about the 3 easiest tenses. 1. Present tense. I am walking. 2. Past tense. I walked. 3. Future tense. I will walk. We also learned about the perfect tenses. 1. Present perfect tense. I have walked. 2. Past perfect tense. I had walked. 3. Future perfect tense. I will have walked. Why do we have so many verb tenses in English? The reason is that each verb tense is used to show when something happens, happened, or will happen. 1. What are you doing right now? I am reading a book. The present tense tells us what you are doing right now in the present. 2. What did you do before you read the book? Before I read a book, I ate my meal with my family. This is something that happened in the past and is now finished. 3. What will you do after you read your book? After I read my book, I will go to sleep. The future tense tells us what you will do in the future. 4. What else have you done this evening? I have finished all my homework. The present perfect tense tells that something happened and now you don't have to do any more homework. 5. What did you do after school? I had started to walk home and then I remembered that I had forgotten my backpack. The past perfect tense tells us that something happened after something else happened, but they were both in the past. 6. What do you think you will do tomorrow? By the time I wake up, I hope we will have lots of snow for sledding. The future perfect tense tells us something in the future will finish, and then another thing will happen after that. Incorrect changes in verb tenses. When we write, we must be careful to use the correct verb tenses. If you use the present tense in the first part of your sentence, then you must continue to use the present tense. 1. What is wrong with this sentence? I walked after I will read my book. The first part of the sentence is in the past tense, and the second part is in the future. We need to keep everything in the correct tense. I walked after I read my book, or I will read my book before I walk. 2. Here is another example. As she was washing the dishes, she had gone to the library. How can we fix this sentence? We can either say, as she was washing the dishes, she thought about going to the library. Or, after she had gone to the library, she washed the dishes. You can see how important it is to understand verb tenses. If they are not correct, the sentences can be very confusing and not correct. Other uses of verbs. So far, we've talked mostly about how verbs tell us when actions occur, occurred, or will occur. But verbs are used for other things. 1. Verbs can be used to tell us about conditions. It was so cold on the way to school today. Sheila felt ill and went to see the school nurse. 2. Verbs can tell us how things happened in a certain order. First, she prepared the table and then the food before her family came in for dinner. He put his books in his backpack, then his homework, and then his lunch. 3. Verbs can tell us about certain states. Jim was so angry he threw his book on the floor. Shelley was so sad she was almost crying. Alan was so happy he did a cartwheel.